Happy Hogmanay from Edinburgh and this wonderful, newly refurbished National Museum of Scotland, one of the great jewels in the crown of Scottish culture and heritage. Now you might think that doing a New Year message from a National Museum is somewhat out of place. I mean, after all, a New Year message looks to the future. People think that museums are all about the past. I hope to persuade you that's not quite the case. This wonderful new National Museum, refurbished, reopened, has had 1 million visitors over the last few months. Glasgow's Museum of Transport and Travel also opened this year. The Royal Palace at Stirling Castle, the Burns Museum in Alloway, the newly refurbished Scottish National Portrait Gallery. We've been systematically refurbishing the great jewels in the crown of Scottish cultural heritage, and there's more to come. The Victoria and Albert Museum in Dundee is arising from the River Tay in the next few years. The refurbished visitor centre at Bannockburn. These are all going to be fantastic visitor attractions to Scotland, people coming to see the essence of Scotland. But I also think this tells us a lot about Scotland's future, as well about Scotland's great past. So what is the connection between past, present and future that this museum and the great other cultural landmarks of Scotland tell us? Well, this section of the museum, Shaping Our World, has the clue. Because in the National Museum of Scotland, you can find the artefacts from the great inventors who shaped the modern world. You can find James Watt's steam engine, Alexander Fleming, his Nobel Prize for discovering penicillin. You can find the John Logie Baird's colour television from the 1930s. Because these great Scots scientists, inventors, they made the breakthroughs that shaped the modern world. Now, my argument would be that Scotland can do this again. I think in our universities, in our colleges, in our scientific institutions, we have people just now who are working on the great new discoveries which will cure many of the illnesses which still beset humankind. We can find people working on the great machines, the energy machines, the renewable energy machines, which are going to provide a safe future in terms of energy generation for the planet. We can find people working on the environmental initiatives, which are going to make human prosperity and progress compatible with the future of our planet. And Scotland, once again, can be that land of invention, the country which shapes the world into the future. So when we celebrate Scotland's past, we also get a glimpse into Scotland's future. So is this impression of Scotland as the land of invention, is that just a self-image that we have of ourselves when nobody else in the world believes it? I don't think so. See, one of the great things about our national museums is it celebrates Scotland's international reach. It celebrates the connections that Scotland has had with so many countries across the world. We're now in the Ivy Wu Gallery of the National Museum of Scotland, and it celebrates, obviously, Scotland's connections with China through the centuries. And these connections have been such a feature of the last year. Tiantian and Yangguan, Sweetness and Sunshine, are safely installed in the Edinburgh Zoo. And as the giant pandas arrived in Edinburgh, so Scotland was digitalising some of the great historic monuments of China. The eastern tombs of the Qing dynasty are now being digitalised onto the internet by Scottish technology. So there's panda diplomacy and there's digital diplomacy. But what there is great friendship between Scotland and China. And that was personified by Vice Premier Li of China when he came to our capital city just a few months ago, and he started his speech in the great hall of Edinburgh Castle with the words, "It's great to be in Scotland, the land of invention." We had a similar message from former Vice President Gore of the United States when he came to a renewable conference and said, look, Scotland's leading the world in the deployment of renewable energy. We had a similar message from Kofi Annan from the United Nations, the former Secretary General, when he came to Glasgow and said, look, Scotland can make more breakthroughs in providing the medicines and medical breakthroughs which can help so many millions across the planet. So the image of Scotland as a land of invention that shaped the modern world is something that's shared internationally, is validated by international observers. And the thing that we've got to do is to make sure that we live up to that we once again bring forward the inventions, the innovations, the ingenuity, which can make a substantial contribution to this planet. But if we're going to do that, and if we're going to succeed, if we're going to shape the future, we've got to make some changes in the present. In the election in May, the people of Scotland delivered a verdict which resulted in the first overall majority in the Scots Parliament. Now, I believe that result was in part a victory for optimism over pessimism, and demonstrates a hunger in Scotland for greater powers so that we can secure a fairer as well as a more prosperous future. The economic circumstances are hugely difficult just now, but that makes a vision of optimism and fairness even more important than ever. My primary concern as First Minister is to ensure the Scottish people have security and fulfilment, which comes from the opportunity for work. That's why, looking to the future, we're providing a job and education place or a training opportunity for every single 16 to 19-year-old in Scotland. That's a guarantee from the Scottish Government. That's why we're investing money in capital projects like the National Museum here, which create jobs and deliver the infrastructure we need for economic growth in the future. However, with greater powers, we could do much more, and we'd be much less at risk from the UK's negative, counterproductive obsession with austerity at all costs. Next year will mark a further shift in the debate on Scotland's future. As we move closer to a referendum on independence in the second half of the Parliament, I'm confident that Scotland will decide to take full control of its own destiny and join the international community in our own right. This would allow us to make even more of the incredible resources and strengths that our country possesses. The beauty of our landscape, the richness of our heritage, the skills of our people, the wealth of our resources. Because by working together to make the best use of these resources, Scotland has a bright future ahead of us. So wherever you are, I wish you a happy Hogmanay, all the best for the year ahead. And let me leave you with a quote from Hugh McDermott. We have faith in Scotland's hidden powers. The present's theirs, but the past and the future is ours.